And greetings, each and every one of you. My name is Alexis Sersha, and welcome to the monthly Blueprint of the New, where we talk about the current energies and all the different things that have to do with embodiment, with realization, with integrating your soul self, your greater self, into your physical reality. And here we welcome all these people, all of you, each and every one of you, wherever you are, whenever you are. So whether you are watching this live now or whether you're going to join us later, you are just as much present at this event, at this round table, as if you were live. And we also welcome all our non-physical friends that are here. And if you can feel Yeshua is very present today, and of course Mary Magdalene and all our other non-physical friends. See if you can breathe deeply and allow them to come into your awareness, because they can greatly assist you on this journey. Because this journey, even though it is the most exciting journey there is, they also has very challenging parts. And not only when you are integrating your shadow self, but afterwards, after the realization, because the matrix, the mass consciousness, those overlays are so heavy, and they're all releasing. The earth is releasing all of these old energies, and you become very aware of them even more than before. And yet at the same time, you develop all of the tools, all of the skills to be able to gracefully deal with them. Perhaps sometimes it doesn't feel like we're dealing with grace and ease. And yet, as the more and more and more you're allowing your mastery to be present in your daily life, the more graceful and the more fun and the more enjoyable that life becomes. So, welcome to all of the people that are still joining in. We take a few deep breaths into this most wonderful life, into this most wonderful journey that we have, that we are experiencing. And I know that sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but you come to a point and you look back and it really was the most amazing journey. Even all of those hard times, those times when you feel like, oh no, this old thing is visiting me yet again. So what do I have to get from this? How do I get out of this? Even those days, when you get the grander picture, when you get the bigger picture, even those days become, you start seeing them and experiencing them from a different perspective. So before we go right into it, there is for those that are new, there is a Q&A at the end. So you can, if you're logged in with Zoom, through Zoom, you can type in the questions as we go. And then I will, at the end, read them out and we will answer them. You can also email them, or go to the website through the contact page. You can send me questions before the show, and then I will read them out. It's just that make sure to do it before at least an hour, that I receive them at least an hour before the show, because there are quite a few things that I have to do in that last hour, and especially come into the presence, so that the show, the broadcast can begin. And also, I would like to invite you to check out my website. I keep adding things, I keep changing things. For some of you, you may notice that I've actually stopped doing the bundles. So I used to do bundles that will go over 5 months, over 3 months. But I'm finding that at the beginning of this year, Michael has asked me that I will need to redo things, because to be able to serve more people. So with private sessions, it is just that as a one single person, I'm unable to do all of them in a timely manner as well. So that's why I have created, for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, a private space, a membership area. That gives you a number of different benefits. You get 20% off all the other courses. You also, I keep uploading sparks on a regular basis. So I've uploaded in the last week quite a few. Also, there are courses. Um, that we will be doing. I keep uploading the courses that I've already had from before, 1 hour sort of courses on all the different things done by different beings, Michael, Saint Germain, Yeshua. So if you want to check that space out, you're more than welcome. There is also going to be a 1 hour monthly live broadcast just like this, but it is a much more specialized, much more focused on certain things, because depending on who joins that space, and then the energy and what is required, what is needed by that group that joins that space, that's what we're going to do in those live broadcasts, which will then be available as a recorded version cloud class for the members as well. And so please do check out that space till the end of February. It's an introductory cost at $11. And then from then on monthly. And then from then on, it will be a $25 monthly fee. It also has to do with exchange of energy. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of those that regularly donate. You know who you are. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you allow these shows, allow these free shows to continue, and to help and to reach and to serve many people. So it is important, the energy exchange, because it also, I've realized, in my life as well, it is important, when I was going through things, because it shows your commitment to things, it shows your commitment to yourself, and also as a gratitude to the person that's doing the work. This work does require quite a lot of things, all the technology, it costs to set up, the cost of Zoom, the cost of everything. So thank you very much for all of those people that are regularly donating and contributing. And yes, please do check out the members area. There will be more and more and more things in there as I keep adding them, but already there are quite a few hours worth of material, so please do check that space. So now let's go to Mary Magdalene. So as you know, I've sort of channeled on behalf of my own I am that I am, and also on behalf of more masculine uh, beings. Like if you know Yeshua, Saint Germain. So far, I haven't actually channeled on behalf of a feminine presence. And so it was a great surprise when Mary Magdalene was so present at my last live broadcast, which I did with Kathy Bowman. And she turned up on the day. I have actually, she has visited me before, when I was on my own, but I never knew that she would ask me to channel. So when about a week ago, she showed up in a really strong with strong presence, and it changed, and she touched my heart in such a new way, in such a beautiful, poignant way, that I couldn't say no. I had to say yes to speak on her behalf, to speak on the behalf of the feminine, and to actually allow my own feminine to come to the foreground even more. Because the feminine part, and that the feminine part, we're talking about not the female and the male, we're talking about the principles, the feminine and the masculine principle within each and every one of us, within each being, within each person, whether you are a male or a female in this lifetime. It matters not, because the feminine presence, it's just having such a rebirth. And we see it in the world with all of the Me Too movements and all of the disclosures, and so many people just saying no more to the abuse, no more to the silence, no more to that toxic relating that we've all been involved with. We've all played in this 3D dimensions, and so now, as the world, as many people are awakening, this movement is just going to be stronger and stronger. So whether you are on the side of, whether you identify yourself as being on the side of the victim or on the side of the abuser, basically both sides need to come to reconciliation. Both sides need to come to wholeness. And of course, then we come back again to our own inner self, because the outer is a reflection of the inner self. So for each and every one of us, it is time to bring those two together. So for me personally in my life, I wasn't so clear on these things when I was younger, but now I can see how guided I was in all of the things that have happened to me, in all of the things that I've experienced, in all of the things that I was passionate about. And for me in this lifetime, I was passionate about being able to experience within myself both masculine and feminine. So I wanted to experience that myself. I didn't want just to have, let's say, a partner reflect my own masculine. I wanted to experience my own masculine within me. It did have some challenges, but it worked. I am so happy and grateful to myself, to all of the things that have happened to me, because I've been able to develop both now masculine and now feminine. And feminine, I've had very distinct experiences a few years ago with both divine masculine and feminine. Because when you first realize them within yourself, firstly, you realize that are part of you, or you also realize that they were always part of you. The masculine and the feminine, I didn't experience them at the same time, like let's say on the same day, but let's say for a few weeks I had full on experience with my masculine, with divine masculine, a whole, and then I had full on experiences also with my divine feminine over a few weeks time. And as I said, one of the first things I realized, they were always present, they were always mine. I just didn't realize they were not, I didn't consciously realize them, but they embodied, they consist of all of those things that I idealized about the masculine and the feminine, all of those things that I wanted, that I would have experienced, let's say in a relationship with my father, in a relationship with my mother. Those idealized things, in that are my divine masculine and my divine feminine embody, have. And then when you sort of develop that and you look at the partnership, so whether you look at the girlfriend or a wife, or a husband and a boyfriend, also all of those idealized images that I had about those things are contained and represented by my divine masculine and by my divine feminine. And yet, you see, because it is a journey, this whole thing is such an amazing journey. So I experienced those things. And then I had to go again through the process of clearing all of those things, all of those patterns within myself, all of those habits, all of those beliefs that prevented me from really feeling those on a regular basis, on everyday basis, in my everyday life, and to be able then to embody them and reflect them into the world and to other people. You see, so this is how normally I experience things. I don't know whether other people experience that, but I first experienced something amazing with regards to divinity. And then the process also of clearing out what is preventing me from fully embodying that in my daily life begins. And that can sometimes take a long time, that can take a short time. It depends. So now, lately, there's been, because you see, this whole being in this way, this whole soul being, when you are your own I am that I am embodied, is so dynamic. It keeps changing. You keep playing in this space, you keep discovering, you keep changing, because I've let go of all of those rules, that I have to be one thing, that I have to just identify with one thing, that I have to do certain things just in this way. And I've let those go. So I can keep changing, I can keep reinventing myself, and I can keep experiencing this joy of being new, of being renewed, of being trying out all these different ways of being, of who I am. Because I always come back to this I am that I am, which is everything and it is nothing. You see, and then whatever you add on to that, I am that I am a woman, or I am that I am happy, I am that I am adventurous. All of those are additions that you can play in, that you can act in, but you know who you are in the I am that I am. You see, so when you are in that space, then out of that, all sorts of different things can grow, and you reinvent yourself all the time. So life is never boring, never boring. And in this way, lately, I've been experiencing this new way of being creative. And I don't mean just as a painter, as a musician, as playing my drum or whatever, or playing on a computer, creating things, creating photos. What I mean is just that there's just all these different creative process that at certain stage you step into, or rather allow it to become part of your life. And it is very, very difficult to describe this creative process. And it has to do with an even deeper connection or identification, or being your own feminine side. This feminine energy is incredibly creative, but creative from a grand scale. It's not just creative that, okay, so I'm going to write a poem. That is part of it. That is just a part of it. But it's creative in such a grand scale that is quite incredible to experience. And all of this, you see, has been subdued, blocked by all of the atrocities that women and men have experienced over the lifetimes, whether these blockages come through your lineage, through ancestral lineage, through your culture, through your family, whether it comes through parallel lifetimes. It's probably both. And it is all of this kind of thrill of life, this pure creative life force that you block when you block yourself, when you live in fear, when you live in terror of all those old happenings. And for some of you, I know all these terrible things have happened even in this lifetime. And for any grown-up person, if once you come to your adulthood, in the 3D, you would ever experience the wounding, any sorts of different abuse, victimhood, being the abuser, all sorts of things. So that is why it is so important to clear that, regardless of how difficult and challenging and uncomfortable it seems, because at the time when you go through it, because as you come onto the other side, as you walk through that valley of the shadow, of the darkness, of of the shadow aspect of your soul self, it seems like you're never going to feel joy again. And yet, that truly is the light at the end of that tunnel. There is a light, even parallel to that tunnel. So, for those of you who are deeply immersed into your shadow work, see if you can at the same time feel the presence of your soul, the peace of your self, the love of your soul self, and of the human self. So, on this journey, the words like redemption, absolution, forgiveness, compassion, they really begin to mean something. And when you experience these for real, when you experience them and allow them to wash, to keep washing out, to keep releasing out all of those blockages that are stopping you from this incredible feeling of creative aliveness, then it starts to trickle, then it starts to move this energy, this flow, this feminine energy of yourself. And as I said, whether you are a male or a female, it matters not. We both have feminine and masculine energies inside. And then your masculine energy, it just it offers this support and nurturance and safe space for this feminine energy to come with its visions, with its creative ideas. And so let's feel this flow, this ocean, this river of this amazing aliveness, of this amazing creative energy. And let's go back to the times, to primordial times, before the earth was even created, when all was just an is, where the spirit didn't know physicalness. And yet at that time already, it was a female, a feminine, and a masculine, because it has split itself so that it could see itself from the outside, so that it could perceive itself in a different way, so that it could love itself in a different way. And it was so thrilled with this experience and so amazed. And the rivers of this creative feminine energy started flowing. It started having visions and dreams of things yet to come. So feel this mixing and molding and flowing and creating and dreaming and envisioning of all the things that were not yet in creation, and yet now in this time where you are, they are. So connect that time for that time, that primordial time of pure creativity, of pure freedom to feel, to dream, is still right here. It is still part of you. It is, you are able to experience it and feel its thrill of feeling how its dreams are going to come into the reality. And one of those dreams is the physical universe. One of those dreams is you. You are the dream of the feminine so long ago, and yet not so long ago. And feel the excitement of the masculine energy to go out, to support, to create, to help, to make, create into the physicalness, to make real the dreams, the ideas, the visions of the feminine, and feel them, this divine masculine and divine feminine, dance within you in this pure joy of creation, pure creation, like molten lava that freely explodes into being and creates the most fertile of soils in time, with a time passing. Feel the joy of the divine masculine and feminine and divine feminine as they're blending and merging and dancing with each other and loving each other freely, without any abandon, without any limitation, without any fear. For fear in that space does not exist. And it is that kind of dreaming, audacity, vision that creates the physical world. that has created the physical earth, that has created the universe. And it is with that kind of energy, that kind of vision, that kind of creativity that we can't even find words, that you create the new earth with. You see, for this is required, it is not about the little details. Yes, the little details are also important. And yet now we are feeling in this space, in this time, we are allowing ourselves to feel this grandness of creativity, this grandness, this ancientness of this divine feminine that always was within you. And yes, I am Mary Magdalene. And I come to you today to talk about this. And more than that, I come to you today so that you too may experience this incredible creativity, this incredible love, this incredible expansiveness, this incredible openness of potentials, potentials of things that have never been, that have not yet even been dreamed by the divine feminine in those old ancient times when the worlds, when the universes were first created, when the universes first came into being. For you now are in this most amazing time, not only in your life, but in the life of humanity, where these kind of dreams of embodied spirit has come to be. There are not only one or two human beings that walk this earth being embodied. There are now many. And that has changed everything. Your work has changed everything. And now is the time to pluck those fruits off the tree. And the tree, the fruit-bearing tree is yourself. You are the fruit of your own work. So what are these fruits that you are now bearing? And it took so long, so many lifetimes. But yet you are now in your mastery. And yes, I know that some of you too are just beginning and are also logging into this space. But see, and you too can feel what you can become. And you will become because you already are that. Although for some of you, you have not realized that yet. And yes, there are many stories about me, Mary Magdalene. And for today, we are not going to go into stories, for I know that you have this thing called Google, and you can check them out, whatever resonates, because there are many stories. For today, we are not going to concentrate on any stories, for that is old. Dear friends, that is old. We are instead feeling yourself as creative being. We are feeling yourself as the one who can create new worlds, new earths, not only for yourself, but for others, for those that follow, for they too will follow, will use the templates that you are creating now. In this most monumentous of times, you have enormous amount of support. No, your non-physical friends, we are not going to do it for you. For the whole point of the mastery is that you own your own freedom, you own your own creativity, you own yourself as I am that I am. Many of you have walked with us, Yeshua and I, when we were alive, when we were physical, alive in a physical sense, when we walked this earth in our bodies. And yes, our lives too were adventurous. For we traveled, for we moved, for we experienced a lot of things. And yet too, we experienced a lot of old energy. For at that time, truly, these times that you have now were only dreamed of, for they were not safe times. It took 2,000 years for us to be here. And yet you take it all for granted in many ways. You take it all for granted, the freedom, even the freedom of this gathering. You see, we are free to gather. 2,000 years ago, we had to hide. We had to hide in safe spaces. We had to keep moving because it was not safe. So you see, a lot of things has changed. And for the impatient ones, for that part of you that is impatient, know just what a monument, how grand this work has been that has been done. For you see, the spirit in matter, embodiment, the creativity, this enormous amount, this vastness of the creativity that is now available to each and every one of you. And yes, for some of you, it is much more readily available because you have done the work already. And for some of you, it is still coming, is it not? But know that you are supported in this. And know that we are always available to you with whatever advice, with whatever support, with the friendly advice that you have. And yet, in many ways, the times that are now have surpassed any mastery, physical mastery that up to now was available. You see, for even I and Yeshua, because there were not this space, this spaciousness, this freedom, this safety at that time. We only could do limited things at that time. And we were not alone, for you were with us at that time. And yes, I can see that some of you are remembering. For some of you, it's always very close. And for some of you, even thinking about those times, thinking about myself. And Yeshua brings tears to your eyes, brings tears into your heart, because even though there were beautiful times, there were times of so much naivety, there were times of such dreams that we all shared at that time, 2,000 years ago. We knew, and we were sad that we knew that it's going to take a couple of centuries. And we were sad, and we were also sad for all of the things that transpired, that humanity was not at that time ready for our message, for the mastery, for the I am that I am. The conditions were not ready. Technology was not there, you see. But dreams were there, and they were beautiful times, and they were creative times. And why am I speaking of those times now? Because I feel that for some of you, you still look at those times with regret, with sadness, perhaps even with anger. But know that anger has to do more with the fact that so much, for such a long time, you have been suppressing, you have been made, you have been forced to, you have been taught to suppress your own creativity, your own flow, your own beingness, your own fearlessness, your own life and joy. Because when you are in the depths of the 3D, or perhaps when you are pulled back into the mass consciousness, how hard is it to step into that part of you that feels this creative flow, that is this creative flow? For many of you, you still don't believe that it's possible, you see. And then for you, it isn't. Because this is being the creator, is it not? Is it not that what you radiate out is what is the truth for you? And you have done, I commend you on all of this work that each and every one of you has already done to let go of having to go into other people's space, into another people's sovereign space to try and change them. No, you have set your own boundaries. You have worked on creating your own space. You have worked on becoming aware of your energy and all the workings, and how this creative process, how is you as a creator work, how you bring about and unleash your own creativity, and how it becomes then physical. You see, you are learning, and it is not, learning is not the right word. You are finding out, realizing, awakening to how this whole process, how this whole thing works. And that's why you are also in this slowed down version, for it is much harder to notice these things when you are a spirit only, for then everything happens at lightning speed, so to speak. And yet I invite you to feel into the mastery of the feminine. For many of you have felt into the mastery of the masculine, and it was appropriate, for that created the safe space. It created also the technology. But who dreamed the technology? It was the feminine. Because it is the feminine that dreams the dreams, you see, that envisions, that brings that creativity on this grand scale. And then the masculine creates, looks after the details of how to bring that about. You see, and with everything that is happening in the world of yours, in this physical space of yours, I invite you to not focus so much on what people that are still in limitations, that are still in their mind, or perhaps that are choosing to stay there. For yes, there are people who are choosing to stay there, are doing. So we're not focusing that much on that. We are focusing on the parallel. For you, the multidimensional being, you can experience, as you know, and a lot of you have that experience, that for some of you, you're still waiting to experience that, and yes, allow yourself to do so. In this parallel, of course, all this freedom is available to you. The flow, the creativity, the joy of life, the self-love is already available to you. But when you keep stepping into that part that just critically keeps looking at what the other side is doing, you see, you're forgetting on this part. So I invite you to keep refocusing into here. Keep refocusing into your dreams, into dreaming, into visualizing, into envisioning, into feeling. And you will know, for some of you that are only just starting that, you perhaps initially may copy someone else's dreams because it may be the workshop that you've done, but you will, if you take the time to spend with yourself in this way, you will get to know what are your dreams and what are someone else's. You see, and your dreams may be very close to someone else's, but there is this very, very unique feeling of coming home when you are in your dreams, when you can finally allow yourself to speak, to write, to sing, to dance your own dreams. And from then, as you are perhaps doing the small steps initially to 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 follow those dreams, to create those dreams in your daily reality, they keep becoming bigger and bigger and bigger as the flow, as you learn how to stop blocking the flow. And you will find that your chakras, your inner the flow of your body changes. For as you allow more and more of this flow that has before been blocked by fear, been blocked by suppression, by oppression, by trauma, by post traumatic disorders, by all of these things that have been blocked, especially below the solar plexus in first, second, third chakra, because that is where the fear constricts you. That is where the fear constricts all of your dreams, your visions, your love. And so focus perhaps on those parts of yourself. Breathe into them, breathe through them. Allow whatever's in there to flow, and it then flows through your body. And it flows into your throat chakra. For many of you, perhaps you have felt blockages, especially of late in the throat, because you are not speaking your truth. You are not radiating your truth, for it has been blocked. And for some, you know many different stories why that has been. Why has there been so many atrocities to cause all of this? You intuitively, your soul self will speak with you or commune with you about what your truth is with regards to that. So we're not going to concentrate on that because there are so many stories. You can Google them if you like. And yet those stories, especially old stories, will not bring you the solutions, will not bring you the now experience, you see. So that is why I invite you to, rather than focus on that, focus on those amazing words that you want to experience. Focus feeling amazed, focused feeling open, focused feeling flowing, focused feeling free, focused feeling fearless. And as you are breathing through your body, in deep inside of your body, allow those feelings to permeate your body. And you will see what a difference it will make. And at the same time, you will have to make some difficult decisions. Decisions of perhaps leaving certain relationship, perhaps leaving certain jobs, perhaps leaving certain places, locations. But you will know, you will find that you are supported in all of that. The opportunities will come, the insights, all the different ideas will come. But it does require that you do take the steps, that you do take certain actions. You see, it is okay to envision also. It requires physical steps. So whether that means that you beautify your place to reflect more of you, it can be just some little things. You perhaps put some flowers, you perhaps make little changes, scents and smells, aromatherapy. You see, that's where it starts. It starts there, and it keeps going. Because once you allow and allow this flow to flow through you, it will, like a river that gains the momentum, it will break through all the blockages. It will cleanse them, you see. And it's not, sometimes it can be intense, sometimes it can be gentle. For this river is not like exactly like the river that you see in nature. You see, you can have huge volumes, and yet it can be so fine and gentle and precise and clear and precious. And it is so satisfying to feel those things in that way, to feel your truth, to feel your voice, to feel your dreams, to allow yourself to dream your dreams. For you see, it's in that way that you contribute to the new creations, to the new worlds, by dreaming your dreams. And then by changing your life, allowing this to come into your life. And then, of course, you will notice things within your life that don't fit this image anymore. And then that's when you need to make those steps to change. And you will have the courage to do these things. And you will look back and you will wonder, why? Why did I find these things so scary in the past? Because in the past, you worked without this flow. You worked within your square mind, which is small, which feels separated, which feels unsupported, which is filled with all these beliefs that are not true, that you're not capable, that you keep repeating same old story. You see, this is what your mind is filled perhaps still with. All of these things that you, because your parents haven't done it, that you can't do it, or whatever idea about yourself that you were taught, and you've kept taking them on. And perhaps your experiences of your life have taught you certain things about yourself, you see, that are no longer true. They don't have to be true anymore. They're only true because you believe them, you see. So there is a gigantic step from that reality into the new reality, to actually believe, to believe what you have believed, the limitations of yourself that you identified with, that was a part of you perhaps for decades and decades and decades. And then life itself reflected those beliefs right back at you. So the mind has stacks and stacks of imagery, of emotions, of samples of why you are limited, of why you can't, or you are this or that. You see, so it is a huge step when you step into this way, being free, being fearless, having this openness of potentials, having this openness of all the possibilities out there. And yet, when you experience it, when you taste it, just only but maybe once, for a second, you will never forget it again. And that is your blueprint often. It is your blueprint then, that feeling is your blueprint to then embody, to allow to go into your body, to permeate it, to change it. Many of you experience this kind of blueprint in your dreams, perhaps. And also, that is why it's important, perhaps, to envision, to visualize, because within that space, you receive all these new feelings, your new pictures, new emotion feelings, I will say. And then you can then practice and cultivate and savor that so that it permeates you, it permeates your body, and then goes out into your life, into your physical life. And you deal, uncompromisingly, you deal with things that will stop you. And perhaps for some of you, there is still a lot of rage for because you were stopped from this kind of experiences, from allowing yourself to feel joy, to feel self-love. There is enormous amount of rage, and these too you can deal with in the safe space. It is not that you have to act upon it, on your anger, on your rage. Not in a violent way, I mean, but act upon it, you will have to. You will need to do something with it. It's a physical. Anger and rage does require a physical expression. So perhaps you go to the gym and punch the bag there, or a pillow, walk up the mountain, something like this, whatever it is, your choice, whatever it is convenient for you. Perhaps it is something like that, and yet it will need that level of expression, but also it will require that you do change those things within your life that fitted with that image and reality of being suppressed. And it is one of the hardest things to realize, to allow yourself to realize where you have been suppressed, where you have been suppressing yourself. It is not easy. And yet, when you do it, when you do it, that is what frees you, you see. Because when you realize that it was you within your energy that has created those kind of templates, those kind of blueprints, then you can uncreate them. You can release them. You can let them go. You experience, you integrate, you let go what needs to be let go of. And then you will see that all of a sudden you're a stranger in your life, in the life that was. And you need to do those things that will enact that change within your physical life. You'll need to let go of a persons, a job, a place, career, whatever, because you start realizing all the real important things that are really important in your life. And you let go of all of the things that are not. You completely change your value system as you no longer seek for the approval from the outside. So these are such huge changes that, dude, you are giving yourself time to experience those kind of changes. And I am describing, of course, what many of you already have experienced and know. And some of you have experienced to a smaller degree, and yet you are right in there. And then there is a whole vastness of universe waiting for you. And then you realize there are so many amazing beings that you weren't able to see before. These amazing human beings that have lived in this way already before. You just haven't noticed them because you were still playing a game of victimhood. And you will then become aware also of all of these non-physical beings, and also of all the other beings that are physical within your world. Not only that those that you call mythological beings, but also animals that you call perhaps pets and wild animals, flora and fauna of the trees, the nature, elements. They all are living beings. They all are part of all that is. They all were dreamed about so long ago, and now they are created. They too part of this grand creation, of this grand love story of I am that I am, that wants to experience itself in so many different facets and parts and beings and ways that never end, never end. And this creativity that is also now part of you is absolutely your right, absolutely your birth given right to experience. And you come to a point, and others will feel it, because then they will not mess with you anymore. You come to a point where you realize that there is nothing in this whole of creation, nothing that will stop you anymore. That there is nothing that will stop you dreaming, that there is nothing that will stop you from experiencing, from knowing your truth, from speaking your truth, from creating your truth, from living your truth. And what an amazing place that is to be. And then you will feel yourself in this mastery, and you will feel the mastery of others, all sorts of beings. And then you will feel the presence and communion with beings like myself. And the whole new world again opens up for you to play with, to create in. But it's a much safer space that we are creating together. And we don't come so much as a teacher above, for we come in friendship for you. Teach us. You are the parts of us that are experiencing physically in matter the dreams that were dreamed and that are dreamed in the now moment. You see, I too keep dreaming. I too keep visualizing, envisioning, creating new realities. And those realities include you, include our partnership, include our communion, include our cooperation, include our friendships. And now I step back, and it was such an honor and a pleasure for me to come in this way and speak with you in this way. And we will read your questions. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at any questions that we might have. Okay, I feel a certain impulse for creative expressions or share. Oh, sorry, I can't. I feel a certain impulse for creative expressions or sharing my journey, but the energy of interacting with others often feels like it's too much to handle, and it seems to interfere with my integration and enjoying life fully. How authentic are these impulses? Okay. So, all of the impulses are authentic. Follow up and see where it leads you. You see, because if you create that trust of yourself, you create trust into your own self. You keep walking in that trust. And a lot of the things also can feel like a mistake, but all they are just an experience. You learn how to be playful with all of the things, because this is what frees you, you see. What frees you is you yourself allowing yourself to be okay with whatever happens, where the human self or someone else may say this is a mistake. You see, it matters not. None of these things matter not, because you try something, you do something, oh yeah, it doesn't work. And this is what was spoken about at the beginning of the show. We keep reinventing ourselves because this process is extremely dynamic, and because you become free. You can be today one thing, and then, okay, this doesn't interest me anymore. I do something else, you see. But this is very, very different to what humanity teaches and how the humanity has set everything up. For within that system, you have to, when you're young, decide what you're going to be for your whole life. Then it takes forever to do the schooling for many years. Then you get a piece of paper, then you find a job, and you build a career over your lifetime. So of course, within that kind of dynamics, it's a very limited dynamics. Within that, you better not make a mistake, right? But within in this new way, there are no mistakes. There's just playfulness. Alex often starts something and it's finished within 3 days, and yet, when the feeling comes, it looks big. And that's the freedom. You start and you stop, and some of the things, they keep going. There are no mistakes. There's just playfulness. Play with it. And yes, there are definitely times within this where you need to give yourself your space. And there are many, many ways that you can now do things where it doesn't involve that contact, personal contact with the people. Like, you can do things online. You see, you can be very creative online. You can do a lot of things like that. So open your vision in this way and see in all the different ways that you can create, because something new keeps happening, you see. Because it is true for most of you, you will find that any prolonged interaction with those that are in the mind is not just plain boring, but it can deplete your energy, because they operate in a very different space. And they also, because they are not connected with their own inner well, they are trying to plug into your solar plexus and pull the energy, because that's how they get the energy. That's the normal human interaction within 3D. And that is why it is not comfortable for most of you to be with, interacting with other people. They're also on this journey. Definite times where you do need to take it for yourself, because you're getting to know yourself. You're getting to familiar with your inner processes and all of these things. So follow your needs, follow your inner prompts, and open up to all the different potentials that as to how you can be creative, you see. Because creativity in the past also was in the box, in the mind. So if you bring your creativity into your body, into your wholeness, all these new potentials will happen. Opportunities, ideas that within the mind didn't exist, you see, because that's not where they are. So build the trust with yourself. Be okay if a great idea you start, and even if you buy all the things that are needed for that particular idea, all of a sudden no longer interests you. Move on. Love yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, because you have followed on what your inner self has asked. And go on to the next, and you will find often, because you see, your soul self is very much knows intimate details of your life, and it will utilize perhaps those very things that you perhaps, let's say, have bought many months down the track, even a year down the track. You see, perhaps not, but what I'm saying is that it's okay if you don't know why certain things have happened, because This is actually the interesting part that you don't know. You just trust yourself and you follow through and you move on and you let go and you flow and you love yourself, and something doesn't work out and you love yourself, and something new, a creative idea happens that you never thought you would be interested in. You follow that up. Oh, you try it, you don't like it, you move on, you love yourself. You see how interesting and how easygoing and how flowing life is in this way. It is a very, very different situation than what the matrix, the mass consciousness, is teaching you. And with all of these things, you don't have to, you see, you don't have to justify anything to anybody. You don't have to justify anything or explain to anybody. A lot of the things that you do in this space, yes, you can share with other people that perhaps are on this journey, but a lot of the things you don't share with anybody except for yourself. Some of the things are just for yourself. You know, when Alex goes out, makes photos, majority of the photos, vast majority of the photos, nobody will ever see. They are a diary for her. So when she looks back, she can sort of feel, rather than typing things, she can, by looking at a picture, she can remember and feel and go back into that feeling as to what was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you see. So that's one way to use the practical creativity. So what we're saying is that you never know how and what is going to develop from what you are prompted to do. Because when Alex started to really photographing, she had no idea how it's going to serve her in so many ways. Not only that it brings joy, but it serves in so many different ways. So, in this way, you're okay to just trust. And if you don't feel like to be with people, look at alternatives. You see, so because a lot of the creativity in this way that I was talking about today, it does not involve anybody else but yourself, especially not at the initial stages. The sharing comes only after you've integrated, after you've lived, after you've enjoyed your own creativity. And so I invite you to keep playing with this, because there are no limitations unless you choose to put limitations on yourself. So develop trust, keep walking, keep playing, and take and see how you can change that spirit of what you're doing into something that is playful and fun, rather than something that should have like a goal or that should be right always. For from the spirit, from your soul point of view, it all is right. It all is experience. It all can be joy. It just depends on your perspective. Thank you, dear one. Okay, we have more questions. Okay, have a look. Okay, so, dear Alexis and Mary Magdalene, today I feel there is still a lot of doubt that stands between me and my dreams and my voice at times. How do I best get in the flow of getting inner things moving and to trust myself more and get into clarity? Many thanks. That is exactly it. You just step out of the doubt. You see, doubt is an indulgence. You just step out of it. You are in doubt and you choose to step into trust. Instead of feeling doubt, you feel trust. And you see how quickly, in an instant, that changes a whole point of view at how you're looking at things. Because how do you know? How do you know whether you are in an expanded place or whether you are in a limited place. In a limited place, there is no future, nothing is possible. You feel bad about yourself. In an expanded place, all of a sudden, you feel great. You feel light. You feel like there's so many things you can do. You feel like, wow, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I think of that? That's how you know it is all present there within you already. So when you feel doubt, notice that you're feeling doubt and then just step out of it into whatever else you choose. Trust, excitement. You see, you can write down the words and stick them up somewhere to remind you so that you can easily, when you feel doubt, you look at these beautiful words and you say, okay, today or right now, I'm going to feel this one. And that's how you do it. Okay, next one. Next question. Let's have a look. So we have another question. Hello, Alexis. Hello, Mary Magdalene. I'm so glad you are here with us. I feel a pull to go back to my country, and this brings a conflict inside of me. Share with me your perspective, please. Thank you. Dear one, there is a part of you that is missing your country, that is missing your beautiful country, that is missing everything, that is missing home. You see, so what I invite you to cultivate the home, the safe space within you. Cultivate that. And then whichever way you decide, whether you decide to stay where you are, whether you decide to stay, to go to another country, to your country, it matters not, because you feel you have developed that safety within you. Because home is on the inside first. You see, there are many parts of you that feel lost because they have not known home, they have not known self-love, they have not known the acceptance. And this home is inside of you. The physicalness, the physical movement, and there are also parts of you, aspects of you that have to do with your home, with your own country, where you feel much more at ease, where you feel the roots, where you feel, you have family. Because when you go away, all of that can feel very rosy, and yet when you come back, then you also notice all of the issues and all of the problems. But you see, wherever you are, you can deal with those aspects, you can integrate those facets beautifully, lovingly, you can bring them all home. For there comes a time in this journey where you no longer feel the so in touch, so not in touch is not the right word, so drawn to a particular country. For you see, you are, when you realize yourself the vast being that you are, you will still have that part, that facet that is connected to your home country, and yet at the same time you realize you had all these parallel lives, other lifetimes in all these different places. And then, so when you look at it from this point of view, then what is home? Home is where you created. Home is on the inside first. So when you create that safe space, that beautiful, loving, accepting space within you first, then you can travel and go anywhere. You see, you can stay where you are. And then with gratitude, you start feeling this enormous gratitude. And all of a sudden you realize that wherever you are, there's this richness of things. There is the richness of experience. There is abundance. This enormous, incredible abundance. Because life and love keeps want to be giving to you if you are open to receiving. But if you are closing yourself, and that is normal, that is natural, for this is what we are stepping out of, then you can't even see all of the beauty that is around you, all of the abundance that you already have in your life. So I invite you to keep feeling that gratitude, that self love, the home inside, the safety, and establish yourself, really establish yourself within that, because then you can then radiate it out to others, and then you can go also to your own country and radiate there as well, whatever you choose. You see, because you can accept yourself, as I talked before, you can accept yourself that you will keep changing. See, you may feel like today you want to go someplace else, and tomorrow you may feel differently again. And you just flow with this, you accept. And if you are sure that you want to go, then take those steps. Because when you decide to be as your soul, with your soul, to be safe inside, to be whole inside, then it doesn't matter where you are physically, as long as you are, because within any space, you will create that safety within any space. You will walk out of the toxic relationships. You will walk out of those things that no longer support the identification of yourself with you now being safe, being whole, being creative. There are certain spaces where this is easier to do than in others. But that is your choice, dear one, for you are free to choose. And you are free to feel safe and free and abundant wherever you go. Thank you, dear one. Okay, so let's have a look at another question. All right, I sense that my ego at an unconscious level gets a hold of the creativity in a way, hold of the creativity in a way it is being envisioned to come through into being. How much is my ego limiting this creativity? Thank you, Alexis and Mary Magdalene. So ego does stop this creativity. For ego, in this way, in this sense, is the identification with the mind. It is your personality, it is your human personality that was created while you felt disconnected from your soul, from your spirit. You see, you get born, you're a child. First, you are all just feelings. Then the mind kicks in, then the learning kicks in. Then you learn how to create those patterns within yourself, depending on family, depending on where you are, in addition to all of the ancestral stuff and all of the parallel life and all of that. So this way it can sound complex, and that is why there is such a it's about a decade of untangling, unraveling. I mean, if you really decide and concentrate and focus on this work, it normally takes about a decade, and that's after other lifetimes where you've done the work already, and in this lifetime as well, because there are just so many layers and so many complexities, because you are a multidimensional being. So back to this ego. So ego is created in that time when you are feeling disconnected, when you are feeling limited. And so that is its story. It supports its story. So what happens is, as you allow yourself the presence of your own soul, you start to get more imagery, you start to get experiences, you start to get dreams that you remember, that take you out of the ego, that take you out of the limitation. So it's not that you have to beat your ego up, because your ego actually is serving you. You see, it's doing best it can. It has images of fear. It has images where you know, it's been with you through all of your experiences, through all of the things that have happened to you, you know, as a 3D person that all of us were. We've had all sorts of, you know, betrayals, humiliations, all sorts of things. So what the ego, with its within its limited perspective, is just trying to protect you. So whenever something happens that it's not familiar with, it then raises the fear. It says, no, it's not safe to go there, because remember what happens last time when you did something like that. So it's better, it's safer if we just continue the same route that we know that is fairly safe, even if it's not pleasant, but at least we know it very well from inside and out. And that is why also why people stay in unhealthy situations, or you know, addictions and all of that, because it feels safe, in a strange way, because they know what to expect. The person knows what to expect within that situation. So as you're starting to step out, you know, it does feel like you're stepping from a precipice into this misty cloud, where, because you don't know what it's on there, you don't know what's down there, you don't know whether anyone's going to catch you, you perhaps don't even have such very strong feelings of your soul. And yet there is a comfort in that. Firstly, you can't stop, because once you start getting glimpses of it, you're too mesmerized by your soul to not stop. And that's really as it should be. But you also start getting experiences of how it's safe to be outside the ego, outside of the mind, and how and then also the ego itself starts getting these pictures, the imagery, how it's safe, the experience, how it's safe to be stepping out, you see. And so you just keep doing what you're doing. You see, you just keep opening up, you just keep feeling, you just keep taking time for yourself, having the space, going into nature, allowing the feelings to come, allowing whatever is there to come, you know, being present, coming into yourself. And you just do keep doing that over and over and over. And then all of those limitations of the ego, they just keep dissolving, and eventually it just steps back, and your soul self comes more to the forefront, and then it steps into its own job. You see, it's been created for a purpose, so it still has a purpose within the new life. But it is not the boss, it is no longer the leader of your life, because as long as it chooses for you, as long as you choose within its structure, it will only be a limited life, because its life, its perception is very limited. And that's why you keep opening up, you keep stepping out of that ego, into your feeling, into your body, into your knowingness, into your intuition. And you will find that also at times, you know, because aspects can play, a rug gets pulled under you when you are in your trust. And then again, you have a choice. So what do? Do you go back into fear, or you just keep trusting? And you come to a place that regardless of what happens, you trust, because you know that all works out. It all is well. And when you know yourself as this timeless, limitless being, as playing in this reality, then what can go wrong, you see? From that perspective, nothing can go wrong. From that perspective, there are no limitations. Thank you, dear one. Okay, let's have a look. It's another question. No, that's all for the questions for today. So I thank each and every one of you that was present today and that will listen and watch this later. It's been such a pleasure to be with you, and such a joy to connect with you in this way. I, Mary Magdalene, send you and hug you wherever you are. So much love. Thank you.